How to entertain your new puppy without exercise. This is a conundrum that I see with a ton of owners because the dogs need so much stimulation at that age. Their concentration span is very limited. So, a bit like a toddler, they're into one thing after another after another. Especially if you get a breed like a spaniel and they're bred to flush and do things all day long. So, it's very difficult, especially if you're paying attention to the 5 minute per month rule, which I do like. It's crucial to know that this rule was invented, by vets and breeders. There's no particular rhyme, to it. You can bend the rules slightly, but with breeds like Labradors, German Shepherds, where their hips are now so bad because the gene pool's so limited, you really want to be following that very strictly. Some breeds are not prone to it, poodles and spaniels particularly, because there's such a wide variety of the gene pool, and a lot of people have working spaniels in particular, that their joints are usually a lot safer. So you can exercise them more. But I don't want to talk about exercise. You should know how much exercise your dog needs. Most young dogs under 2 need 2 hours a day running around. Half an hour a day for most young dogs is not going to cut it. The low energy dogs are bulldogs and mastiffs, that kind of thing. So English bulldog, French bulldog, English mastiff, dog de Bordeaux. And to be honest, a lot of the reason why they're so low energy is because they're suffering. Not only can they not get enough oxygen, but also their joints and things are not created properly, and it's very difficult for them to move more than other dogs. So they're using a lot more energy and tire out quicker as well. But most young dogs just need a ton of exercise to help you get off on the right start. But dogs that haven't had their vaccines, and young dogs, and say you've gone out and you've done your 10 minutes or 15 minutes for the day, or even if you do it twice a day, it's not going to be enough, really. Dogs in the wild, particularly the African painted dog, they're used to going 6 miles a day from 12 weeks on. That's kind of how much exercise they're getting, plus the mental stimulation of being outside, right? So our dogs are nowhere near getting any of that at that age. It's very rare when I meet someone that is even giving their dog the right amount of exercise, to be honest. But I can tell straight away because the dog is totally calm. And even if they've got a behavioural problem, it's almost always a lot less because they're just calmer, they're more tired, they've been given the adequate exercise. But in those early days, what needs to happen, or what we need to avoid, is having the dog or puppy just running around manically with a lack of stimulation. Having toys all over the floor, it is a good thing. Your puppy does need toys, and it's good to have a variety of toys, but it's not enough. It's not enough because very quickly those toys are going to become old and boring. I will talk about toys and the best ones and things like that, but it's not enough just to plop a puppy on the ground, do a little bit of lead work, take them out for 15 minutes a day, and that's it. They need constant, and I really mean constant stimulation. So it's very easy for the first week of having a puppy, especially if you've got kids or a lot of people in the house, that everyone is giving the puppy one-on-one attention. And it's not such a bad thing because they need a lot of stimulation, but they've got to get used to doing stuff on their own. It's really important. If the dog grows up believing that the only source of entertainment is you're going to have problems like separation anxiety and attention-seeking behaviour, which is really irritating and can get a lot worse. It can lead to biting in the end. So your dog needs things on its own to do. This is where pens are quite useful because you can plop them in the pen. Here's some new toys, and now you don't have to leave the room, but stay in the room, and then your dog has to interact with those things, and it gives you a little break. But they need things that are constantly going on. So really, a bit like a child, you should be setting up your day thinking, this is when I'm going to walk, this is when we're going to learn, this is when we're going to play together, this is when you're going to play on your own, and repeat it. Repeat. So toys. The best toys really that I've seen are things that move on their own. Feeding toys are more important than this, but I want to go through this first. So the one I saw, I can't remember what it was called, but it was a shark, and basically it was still unless you interacted with it, and then it flipped and rolled around, so it could move in 3 ways, 3 planes if you like, and it was basically like having a little animal for it to play with, which was great. Another toy that I really like is it basically looks like any other generic plush toy, but it's all made of Velcro, so the dog can effectively rip it apart and then you put it back together. It's made with some super strong Velcro. A lot of dogs love stuff like that because they love destroying. This comes from an innate behaviour of when they used to hunt and they're ripping out the guts. So they love doing that. It's very good for them to do that. You want stuff like that. You also want lots of textures. So you don't just want hard plastic toys and plush toys. You want a variety. Loads of dogs love sticks. There's absolutely nothing wrong with sticks as long as it's supervised and it's non-poisonous, which most aren't poisonous. But things like fruit trees are pretty safe. They make a huge mess. I prefer them just in the garden or even the kitchen in a pen, somewhere you can clean it up. But they really love stuff like that, and it's really important to, if you've got a chewer, you need to give the dog the textures he's after. If he's chewing the skirting board, chances are he really wants some wood, and a plush toy is not going to satisfy that. So you've got to be giving the dog the opportunity to have these pretty much whenever he wants, because they want to be chewing almost constantly. So that's really important that you fulfill that. Food toys. Now these are the toys where you can get your puppy to interact by themselves. So they're great to pair with leaving the room, just before a nap, if you want to pop out, anything like that. It's great to pair with licky mats, snuffle mats, Kongs, and other chews that are safe, like natural venison skin, things like that. Pigs is, but they do get expensive and they're smelly and they're high in fat. But things that you can refill yourself are always the cheapest option. Snuffle mats for treats or hard things, bits of carrot. Licky mats and Kongs for soft food. I just use wet dog food. It's cheap. I don't have to, cut up a chicken or anything. You can do if you want. If you're working with separation anxiety, I would like to put something really high value in. For puppies, they're not really that fussed. They're usually quite foodie, so you can just stick to their normal diet. That's absolutely fine. If you've got a big chewer, you can freeze the Kongs and licky mats as well. It gives you that opportunity, and it lasts a lot longer. Nice in the summer as well. Cools them down. So they should be getting this almost constantly. So it's like, right, we get up, we go outside for a wee, we might have a little walk now, right, we've come back, you're in your pen or wherever on the floor, not cuddling me, not anything to do with me, because you need that time. You need time away from your dog where he's not touching you and demanding off you, so that he learns to be independent. And that's when you give a Kong, licky mat, whatever you want to do. Okay, and then it'll be time for something else, probably a nap when they're very young. But then you've got to think, what's the dog going to do after the nap? Enforcing naps is really important. If you've got a puppy and you think, oh, he doesn't really sleep in the day, this is really not good. It can lead to a lot of problem behaviours, particularly biting. I usually see kind of a lack of bite inhibition, and it's just frustration because they're so tired. They need to be sleeping on and off all day, under 3 months really. After 3 months it starts to change a bit. They still should be napping. Even adult dogs should be napping in the day. They shouldn't just be awake and alert. It's too much. So this is where kind of crate training can be helpful and things like that. But if your dog's just used to you supplying everything, including how to get to sleep, like on your lap, you'll never be able to break that umbilical cord and get away from your dog or even leave the house. So it's really important to start early on. You're there, I'm here, watching telly or doing my own thing. You can't get to me, but here, look, there's a nice Kong for you to chew and do your own thing. So they've got to have these, 3 to 6 times a day, these kind of chew toys. It's really important to flood your dog's day with these toys. I personally just use their own food. I don't feed from a bowl. Whenever I'm training or I've got a dog that needs a load of stimulation, I always feed with enrichment toys. It's just really important. Highly intelligent dogs are very difficult to entertain, so you want to use as much as you can in games. Give them something to do. So things like German Shepherds, Collies, Spaniels. So, highly intelligent dogs and fizzy dogs, and, the combination, the ultimate combination, cockapoos. I see them so much. And the calmest ones go out for a 6-mile walk a day, to be honest. But if you don't do that, if you're not doing your 6 miles off lead, chasing a ball for 2 or 3 hours, every day, then you need a lot of stimulation indoors. And these toys really help calm things down. Chewing is naturally calming for dogs anyway. It helps them relax. It releases the same endorphins as when we get a massage, as when they chew something. So it's really important to do that. I like pairing it with stuff like when guests come as well, help keep them calm and learn that they've got to do their own thing and be calm around guests and new people. It's very useful. but you've got to have all of these ready. My dog's, she's nearly 10 now, so I've got 5 Kongs, and I do them all at once and chuck them in the freezer. And then that gives me a few days where I can just give her, one. She only needs one a day now because she still obviously gets exercise. Sometimes we're out for 5 hours as well, just milling around, so she gets a lot of stimulation. But when she was younger, she had to have constant stimulation, so constant chewing, constant games. So have a pile of things is what I'm saying, so that you can be like, right, this time, I'm going to give 3 frozen Kongs a day with the dog's natural food. Here you go, plop it down. Then you want to be thinking things like games. Games is really good for building a bond and also teaching your dog some manners and excitement. If you don't play with your dog, it's very difficult for them to learn how far they can go, if you like. So you can play tug. There's absolutely nothing wrong with playing tug. If you've got quite a pushy dog or breed, I'm thinking kind of more on the lines of German Shepherd, Malinois, particularly male dogs, they do push the boundaries a lot more. Just make sure you win the tug more than they do. You don't want to start losing because it's just not going to be good long term. But something like that is good. I do like rough play with my dogs, to be honest, like patting your hands on the floor, letting them kind of nip your arms and stuff. Not everyone likes doing that. It's not something I particularly advise, especially if people have got kids in the house, because it can take a little while for them to realise what's acceptable and what's not. But if you do this, it's very good because they can learn how to not bite you, so they can get all their explosive energy out on you, and you can have a great game together rolling around the floor. Just make sure if it does go too far, a loud no, and then you end the game. So you end the game either by standing up or leaving, and if you leave the room or wherever you are, shut the door behind you so the dog can't follow. And it's got to be quite quick. I've spoken to people who've kind of kept the game going by kind of trying to pin the dog down, if you like, in a kind of like dominant way. But to be honest, most dogs will see this as just rough play. It will almost stir them up more because you've kind of got the upper hand, right? And then they'll just go more crazy. It's better just to give them a consequence of what they really want. So they really want to play. So it's like, well, the game's gone now. You've ruined it. It's all over. I'm gone. And when they're puppies, it's easy because they're small. So even just standing up can end the game, especially for small breeds. It's like, no, I'm gone now. I'm in the clouds. Okay, no more game. But stuff like that, you should be doing this at least every day, a few times a day with various toys and things like that, getting all that excess energy and kind of angsty behaviour out. They need something to kill. They need something to grab hold of and shake around and throw about. They need this. They don't need a lifetime of it. They need other stuff as well. They need chewing. They need exercise. And then the most important thing that really tires dogs out, which I'm going to get onto, is training. But they need all of these, and they need them every single day. This is one of the reasons why I would never have a puppy again. I love rescue dogs. I love older dogs. They've got a much better head on them. Even if they come with problems, they can concentrate on what you're saying more. Whereas puppies need that constant, what are we doing next? What are we doing next? And plus you've got the toilet training with puppies, which can take anywhere from a day to a year with them, really, because you get a big spread on that. So I personally find puppies quite annoying for this. You have to always think on your feet. It's much better if you've got a little list of stuff and a routine. Like I said before, like we've got Kongs in the freezer. We're going out at this time and this time, and somewhere in the middle we're doing training, and your naps are here. It's much easier for you, and then you'll know basically what you have to do. Training, it's up to you how much you train. The more you train, the better the dog you have. It sounds obvious, but if you just train for 15 minutes a day, really it's almost like not worth bothering. You should be doing short little bursts. So if your puppy's like 8 weeks, or even if you've got a 12-week puppy but you've not done none training, just start with 5 minutes. That's absolutely fine, and give breaks. If you want to do a longer bit, then just give breaks in between. But you want to be constantly training your dog. Your dog's learning all the time, remember. So if someone comes in, like Nanny comes in and starts screaming with excitement at the dog, and the dog's getting excited, the dog's learning to be excited around guests, and excited dogs tend to jump, they tend to mouth, they tend to grab clothes. What I prefer is a dog that sits for guests, or pretty much ignores guests, or at least keeps all 4 paws on the floor with guests, which means training with guests. So the first thing you say is, right, please ignore my dog, and I'm going to train my dog around you, so just keep asking for sit. So everything is a training session. I have done a separate one on this, on the best things to teach a new puppy. Please go and look at that, because it includes literally how-to things, like how to do door boundaries so your dog doesn't run out into the road. Important things, not just lie down. But this is what you should be doing every day. I would do at least 2 sessions, one in the morning and one later on, so that your dog's constantly learning. Try and pair it up with stuff that's useful. Useful things are door boundaries and lead work. If you can't think of anything that's useful, or if you don't have a guest coming so you can't train, then stay. Stay is my absolute number one thing. It is incredibly hard for dogs. Owners find it incredibly hard to get their heads around as well, but it's incredibly hard for dogs because it's ongoing, so it's not a position. Like with sit and lie down, once the dog's in that, he knows that, it's easy. Training is not, once the dog's learnt something, it's not going to stimulate them as much. If I ask my dog to sit and lie down, even if I repeat it 10 times, I want 10 of each, say, one after the other, she's not going to be tired. If I ask her to stay still and extend that minute by minute, that would really wear her brain out. And this is why it's a very good thing to teach dogs. It's useful as well. You know, we like stay. Stay's very useful if you've got separation anxiety, if you need an emergency stay, things like that. But it's the one thing that will tire your dog out. Most dogs I see after a session, it doesn't matter what we're working on, whether it's resource guarding, separation anxiety, or we've been out with reactivity. Afterwards, the dogs are absolutely shattered and they go to sleep. And this is really what you want for your young dog. You want them tired so that they're not getting into mischief. Cockapoos tend to steal stuff because they're bored. They're so understimulated because they need constant stimulation. So they look for stuff to steal. Unfortunately, because they've got the Cocker Spaniel, then they guard it. And now we have a biting problem further down the track. But if we just tire the dog out so that they're just doing nothing, they're too tired to steal, they don't develop these problems. Same with territorial dogs. If they're tired, they're going to bark less. Whereas if they're not, they're hyper-stimulated by just things going past because there's not enough going on. They start barking, and if they're fearful, then they can start biting as well. So tired dogs are happy dogs. One of my friends, she did do training with her puppy, but she didn't want to do any of the crazy playing. She had 2 other dogs. They're cockapoos. They're quite dominant, and everyone's a male in the house. So she took her poodle puppy 6 miles every single day. Sometimes she does 9 miles off lead, chasing a ball. You can't imagine how much exercise this dog gets. It gets this every single day because she just wants him to sleep in the house. So she usually goes out once in the morning between 3 and 5 miles, and then once in the evening for 3 miles, because she doesn't want him playing and disrupting the older dogs because she doesn't want fighting, and they just sleep. They bark at the door. She kind of wants that because she's fairly remote, so I get that. But they don't get up to mischief. They don't do anything. They go to their beds, and things like that. So I'm not saying you need to be that disciplined, but a lot of naughty puppy behaviour just comes from lack of stimulation. So look at stay, teach stay. The correct way to teach stay, by the way, is ideally you want to work on time before you leave. So you want your dog sitting or lying down if it's more comfortable next to you without barking, and you want to extend the time between him lying down and you giving him a treat. Okay, so you just extend it. That's all you do. So you can just sit there and just give a treat, and then count, to 10, 20, 30 seconds, 1 minute each time giving a treat. So it gets longer and longer and longer. You can build this up for quite a long time. I'm talking minutes, yeah, and then you start leaving. So you say your keyword like stay, you leave. You do not call your dog. That is not stay, that is wait. You return to your dog and give them a treat. And then you do the same. So you start disappearing, reappearing. I like to stay in the same room as the dog so they can see for the first bit. You might want to wait the other side of the room if you've built up a good amount of time with them next to you. Then you can leave and build up the time far away. But you always return to your dog. And then for me, I don't say break, I just say away to release. It's like away, don't need to concentrate anymore. But it's very tiring for dogs to have to do that, especially puppies where their attention span is so low. You're not going to find it easy. The first bit you're going to do is probably just a couple of seconds, but that's fine. It's just going to tire them out, and that's what you want. You want to tire out your puppy without wearing out their joints too early. So that's a very good one to do, and make sure, unless you've got a really good routine where you're working on useful things, like we've got guests in all the time, I'm working on the door all the time, then I would put stay in every single day to build on it, because it's really going to help wear them out. don't do it when they're tired, just before a nap. It's kind of not fair. You want to do it kind of a few minutes after a nap. So get out the crazy energy a bit and then get their working head on. Things I like before a nap really are kind of toys by themselves, so that you can pair it with their pen or their crate, wherever they're going to be. And it's like, right, there you go. It's nice and relaxing. They're lying down naturally to chew, and then they should just fall asleep. But training I like somewhere in the middle of their kind of party hour. And then I give them a break. So we do 5 minutes of stay, which is not, I'm not expecting the first time for them to just sit there for 5 minutes. Like I said, it's just a couple of seconds. But we do, say, 5 minutes of that. And then I say away or break, whatever you want to do. So you kind of shoo them away for that. Go away, you know, and there's, as they're sniffing, then I'd throw a toy at them. So like, here you go, here's the crazy shark toy. Go and roll around with that. Get it all out. Probably give them 5 minutes and then call them back. Crazy shark's gone. Right, we're going to do it again. Please remember that after any crazy fun activity, it's going to take them a minute or two to calm down from that. That's absolutely fine. Just make it easier. Just make everything easier for the first minute or two. So easier for stay means that they get more treats under a short amount of time. Making it harder means they get less treats. They have to wait longer and longer. If you've got a dog that's whining and things like that and they're impatient, it's a difficult one. But the general rule of thumb with whining is that you either reward your dog, so separation anxiety, you reward your dog by peering, you know, but most of us just need to reward our dog with food. You reward them before the whine, so you have to get in quick, or you wait for the whining to stop. Can't do that with separation anxiety. You can do it with puppies when they're tired. When they're tired, it's not separation anxiety at that point, it's isolation anxiety. And usually if you pair it with a nap, then you can just wait it out, you know, next to the crate or whatever, and they will just fall asleep after making a lot of horrible noises. But you can't do stay if your dog's crying, because you're not teaching stay, you're now teaching crying behaviours, if that makes sense. So you can either end it, so it's like, right, I'm standing up, walking away, the treats are gone because you've made that noise too many times. So we're ending the session, because what the dog wants at that point is treats, right? So it's like the treats are gone. Or you just get faster, so you wait just a little bit before your dog whines, give them a treat, so that they learn that actually it's the silence that gets the treats. It depends where your dog's at, though, really, for that one. Try both. I personally would tend to stand up and walk away from that, because they can be quite persistent, particularly if it's been a rehomed puppy, because it may have learnt, you know, bad habits from other people that interact with whining. It just creates more whining, so you don't want that. But yeah, hope this has been helpful. Good luck with your new puppy. Exercise, increase the exercise slowly, but you know, ultimately you want to increase it at least to an hour a day, if not 2 hours, you know, for dogs under 2, to be honest. They need that running around, and not a short lead, a long line where they can run and zigzag and gallop about, you know, like maniacs, or off lead is what you ideally want. But for now, just focus on toys, enrichment toys on their own, so things with food, crazy games between you and the dog. That can be very useful for recall later on as well. If you've got a garden and you just go running around madly and say this way and make it a game, very useful for recall. Obviously your walks, your little walks, is still important. Also bear in mind that your dog can come out with you more than the 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 50 minutes, wherever they are, as long as you're not moving. So you can incorporate, we're going on a picnic today and I just want the dog with me with their toys. You do have to bring your puppy's toys. Again, think toddler. We need to bring things for the dog, or a pub, or wherever, or even people have like backpacks that they put their puppy in when they're too tired. So don't think that you can't go out for more than 15 minutes. You can. And stimulation outside is also very tiring for the dog. But training is the key thing. If you can't think of anything, just train stay. Like I said, I've got another podcast on the best things to teach a new puppy. Have a look at that to see what's really useful and going to be helpful for you and your dog. But training is what you need. Training ties them out, and ultimately you end up with a dog that's well behaved and happy and knows what's expected of him as well. So yeah, it's all gravy. You've been listening to Tilly the Dog Behaviourist from Fawn Dog. For our full list of services, please go to fawndog121dogtraining.co.uk. We do home visits and telephone consultations now too. Videos can be found on our
our Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook page. And I've just started a new podcast which goes deep and personal into the home visits that I do. And this is all about the specifics. So it's not general programs, it's why use what technique for what particular dog, their age and breed, personality, all comes into it. So go and check that out. It's subscriber only, but it's only $3 a month. Thanks for listening.